Testing, testing. You guys can hear me okay? Hello, hello? How's everyone doing today? How's everyone doing? Am I not live? I am live, right? What's going on? Alright, no, the people can see me. Alright. Sorry, there's a weird delay there. Alright, sounds good, thank you. Alright. How are we all doing? I'm liking this backstory a lot. I mean, I've been saying that for a while, but even this section of the backstory, I think, I view it almost as starting it's not starting a new backstory, but this was the first Bonnie section of the backstory. So, I don't know. I enjoyed this it's a different change of pace, you know, following a different character. Basically, the main character of the backstory kind of shifted. Alright, so, thing number one is, I want to check one thing real quick. I swear, yeah. Alright, so if someone could give me updates on the in-season tournament as it's going, that would be very nice. I guess I can have it up in the background, but, you know, I do kind of care. I don't know why I care, but I do care. It's a good idea. Anyway, that aside, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Stream the Game Awards? Are the Game Awards today? Game Awards. I haven't played any of the games in the Game Awards, but I hear that, what's that game? Baldur's Gate 3 is gonna win, right? It's streaming today? The Game Awards are today? What the fuck? No. Why are they today? Great. Alright. Nobody watch that. Nyx's the chapter definitely wasn't bad, but it's the worst in a while in my opinion. Really? I like this chapter. I like this chapter. Chadsworth Gigafuck says, hey Morj, do you read normal comments? Of course. With a name like that, of course I'm not going to skip that. Wade Turner says, Morj looking good. You know why? You know why? Not just because I changed the lighting, the lighting, but I figured that the lighting would be better if it matched that lighting, because that lighting's like a warmer. You guys can't see. That light's you guys don't care. It's a warmer light. So I changed the lights to kind of make it, it doesn't matter, to make it consistent. But the bigger reason is because of my attire. I'd like to draw your attention to, you guys may not have even noticed it, because it's not that weeby. It's very casual, it's very sleek, it's very subtle. That's the type of clothing, if I'm going to wear any sort of anime-related merchandise, this is the type of clothing that I would like to wear. That is why this is what you will find in the Morj store. Fruit of the Devil, nice black, splash of color here. I like it quite a bit, in my unbiased opinion. You all can get it in the Morj store, which I'm going to link to you right now. I'll just link the full store, basically. But, no, I'll link the shirts area. Jack says, Morj, do you think the flashback's too long? No. I will never think... For me, it's gonna be very, very rare that I think that any character-focused section of the story is going too long. I think that there are moments, like... I think when, you know, when we were inside Egghead and we're trying to figure out who the bad guy is, and it's a plotline that's going that seems more so just to set up, like, a really rushed whodunit with a cast of characters that we don't care too much about. There's going to be moments in the story that I wish pacing would pick up. But anytime that you have, like, an actual character backstory or actual character storyline, I'm generally going to be on the side of, like, let's take it, like, let's let it play out as drawn out of a pace as reasonably possible. I don't know. That's my personal preference. I mean, obviously at a certain point you'd be like, okay, if nothing interesting is happening, and I guess everyone's definition of interesting is different, but we needed a chapter where we got to see more of Bonnie's side of things, where we could kind of connect with Bonnie and what she's gone through a little bit. and kind of understand where she's coming from, how she was feeling during the whole Kuma thing, what led her to where she's at right now in Egghead. Yeah, just the emotional journey of Bonnie, and this did it in, half a chapter, so I think you can't get much more efficient than that, honestly. Super DL forces, yeah, Morj, why are you looking scrumptiously wet? Maybe that's just how everybody looks when they put on this shirt. I don't know. It's because I came out of the shower just now. But, Morj doesn't play shooter games. Are shooter games up for the Game Awards? Are the Game Awards... Okay, can somebody explain to me, do the Game Awards lump together multiplayer games and single-player games? Because I feel like that's kind of wrong, right? Like, what I mean, I guess, is like competitive game, or I guess so many games are now wasn't Elden Ring, you can play against other people and stuff too. Baldur's Gate 3, you can do solo or with a party. So I guess it's hard to compare those two things, but I feel like, shouldn't Game of the Year be more so single player games? In my opinion. Bonnie's Fruit's OP? I think it is OP. But we kind of need to see the limit. We need to see the limit for sure. If I go to the Game of the Year awards, for some reason it takes me to... Am I crazy? If I go to Game of the Year awards, just check out this link. I'm just going to drop this link real quick. If I click this link, have you seen it? For me, it takes me to a 500 server error. I'm sure that's not supposed to happen, right? Distorted Future, she can basically use every Devil Fruit stuff. I don't know if she can use every Devil Fruit. I don't know if that's what the ability is. Can we get the stream lights up to 100 real quick? Kurokami Najimi says this flashback is the most I've enjoyed One Piece in years. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is the best writing One Piece has had in a long, long, long time. Not necessarily this chapter specifically, but the flashback as a whole. And, this chapter is obviously a piece of that. Does that link send you guys to a 500 server error as well? It sends me to a server error, so I don't know what's going on there. Jolly D Joestar says 1100 cliffhanger clickbait again, lol. Yeah, nothing. The 1100 cliffhanger was really not important at all in the grand scheme of things. I guess Oda's kind of looking at the different things that Kuma's going to go through, and it's kind of like, which one can I kind of use as a cliffhanger? Okay, Luffy, seeing Luffy at his island, that's a bit of a thing. Yeah, it's a 500 error? Yeah, why is it a 500 error? Harrison Tiato says, just copped a sweatshirt. Thanks for supporting, man, and I promise you, the sweatshirt will pay off for itself when you go around. Just show up, just walk around. Go touch grass wearing that sweatshirt. You will see what happens, all right? Just go walk around your downtown, go to a bar, go to a club. The sweatshirt will pay off for itself, I promise you. Link works for some people, not for others. I don't know. I don't know. Can't really explain that. I don't know how science works, how technology works. But yeah. I think the chapter was still good overall. I'm enjoying the flashback so far. I view this as a necessary piece of the chapter. And it's not like Oda gave us a cliffhanger at the end of this chapter. It's just, I guess, discussion material as to how significant Bonnie's distorted future ability is. My take is, if Bonnie can kind of... I just don't know if right in this moment... So the only things we've seen her do are kind of body modification stuff. So becoming buff, that's not that crazy, right? Then doing a giant arm, that's similar to Luffy's abilities. That is crazy, but my question is, can she imitate more obscure Devil Fruit effects? Could she use Law's Room? Is she really using a Nika-style ability right there? Or is it kind of just she can change her body shape or body type, and creating a giant arm happens to be in the realm of things that are possible for her to do in that regard, right? Is she able to use more Devil Fruit abilities that are not related to her, to just physically changing her body, right? Could she shoot Kizaru lasers? Can she do things like that? A distorted future where I'm, the light fruit user? Because that's when it gets kind of crazy. That's when it gets pretty insane. A distorted future where I'm the world's strongest Conqueror's Haki user. I don't know. GTA 6 opinion? I haven't even seen the trailer because I don't play the GTA games. The GTA games are obviously really fun. Like, I never had a PlayStation or Xbox growing up, so for me, GTA was kind of like, if I went over to a friend's house, the new, you know, if they're playing it basically, then I get to have fun watching. But maybe it's just me, but my friends would, like, I distinctly remember going to a birthday party, and this was in high school, like maybe early high school. Someone had GTA, and he was just playing it, and like everyone was watching and stuff, but he didn't really relinquish the controller. So I just got to watch, and I guess that's kind of a lot of what happens with GTA with me, which is like I enjoy, like I think when it's a game that I don't own, I feel very little investment when I'm picking it up at a friend's place to play. So I'm kind of just like, oh, I'm gonna do this for a bit, but usually I'll just hand the controller off to somebody else and just watch. So just because I'm like, well, I'm not gonna get in, like I'm gonna get 30 minutes out of this. I'm not gonna get to really get what the whole game's about and stuff. So I've never been a really big GTA person. I enjoy watching it. I think it's funny when other people play it. It was funny when my one of the funniest nights I can remember in college period was, this is a whole story that I'm not going to get into right now, but it was the first time I had an edible, and that night I thought that I'd broken, like you think all sorts of crazy thoughts when you're having a crazy trip, right? And an edible will do that to you if you have too much of it, which I did the first time. I don't want to get on into the full story of this. A lot of stuff happened, but one of the things was basically, I was in a room, friends were playing GTA, and I was the only one super high there, so I was fucking dying when one guy's playing GTA, right? This is probably the hardest that I've ever laughed in my life. The reason I know this is because I was laughing so hard, like nonstop, to the point that they were like beginning to question if I was okay. It was just so insanely funny in my head. And then a moment came where I thought I'd laughed so hard that I'd ruptured my neck. I was like, suddenly I stopped. I was like, oh my God, wait, something just went wrong. In my paranoid brain that was like way too far gone, I was like, something just went wrong. Oh my God, my neck. I've laughed too hard. I've ruptured I was just like, they're like, what happened? I was like, I shouldn't speak. And then I like left the room, and I'm walking around, I'm like, do I call the hospital? The hospital. What do I do? It went from like the funniest shit ever to like a nightmare I'm gonna die scenario in 0 to 100. And I was like, I can't explain it to them. They just wouldn't understand. So anyway, that's my most significant memory related to GTA. I will not be watching the trailer for GTA 6 because I'm not gonna play that game. I just have no... Like, I never grew up playing those games. I didn't really play those games much in college or anything like that. The games are fun to watch other people play, but I just don't really feel like playing them. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I hope you guys... You guys don't understand. That's just like a small part of that night's story. I'm not going to share everything. But I didn't take an edible after that for a long time. I was not ready for the responsibility of that, basically. This was sophomore year of college. Bassem El Madawi, thanks for the 5. How's it going? Okay, I'll tell a tiny bit of I'll tell a tiny little bit extra, which is the reason that I took the full edible was because, like, in our friend group, there's only one other person that smoked, and he smoked, like, a lot more than me. He kind of got me into that, basically, right? So he bought an edible, and he had the bright idea, like, we're going to split this edible, right? So we didn't even have the full thing. It was a brownie, cut it, right? And I'm supposed to have half, he's supposed to have half, all right? Listen, this guy, and he might even be watching this stream now, because I know that he does occasionally tune into streams. One of my oldest friends, easily, right? He doesn't like chocolate at all, like, to the point that he can't have it, right? He assumed that he'd be able to tank it for the sake of the edible, because that was the only thing he was able to buy. He assumed that he'd be able to tank it for the sake of the edible, but he took like a tiny piece of it. He was like, I can't have this, and I'm like, well, he's just gonna waste it. And like, I've had my half, it's not kicking in, you know how it is, right? Like, you're lots of times when you have an edible, especially the first time, you don't know, it takes a while. So I'm like, it's not kicking in. He's like, I'm not gonna have my half. He doesn't want to eat his half. I'm thinking my half didn't even fucking work. So I just take his half too. And then that basically is what started that whole experience pretty much. It led to certain things. One of those things being me rupturing my neck in my mind. But yeah, we're not gonna get into the full story. Bassem El Madawi, thanks for the 5. How's it going, Morj? Joy Boy was a giant who had a child with a human. How? What are you talking about? How would he do that functionally? Did he? Oh my God! Just thinking about what he would have had to do that is terrifying. Who would let him do that to them? Joy Boy was a giant who had a child with a human. The Buccaneers are his direct descendants. That's why Nika is their god. That is an interesting idea, even though I laughed at it first because the imagery is just insane to think about. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. So in this thought, I don't know. It makes sense. It makes sense, and it also makes sense why the world government would kind of hate Buccaneers quite a bit because of what they represent. Direct descendants of Joy Boy's blood. But at the same time, I guess Oda logistically would just never get into... I mean, Loki was trying to fuck Lola. So we know that humans aren't off limits for giants in their minds. They're just maybe giant. Quick theory. Is there any... I think that this theory is true. Not your theory. Your theory is possible, but I just came up with a theory. A far better theory. All right? That could make your theory correct. I wonder if giants have really, really, really tiny dicks. Like, not tiny compared to humans. I'm sure they're still bigger than, like, the average human dick, but just really tiny compared to the average giant. You know, like, relative to the giant's size. You know what I mean? Because Loki was into Lola, and it was kind of implied that that was, like, a doable thing. In his mind, he was like, yeah, we can make this work. Right? And then this mixing of, you know, the D-tribe, it's a mix of, you know, giants are part of the D-tribe, but also humans are part of the D-tribe, so they must be mixing in some way, right? And then Buccaneers exist, and as you just pointed out, I think that Joy Boy was very possibly... I don't think Joy Boy was a giant, because the hat size, I feel like it fits a Buccaneer, maybe a little bit better, but maybe Buccaneers are the product of giants, right? Giants and humans, right? So, yeah, maybe giants just have really, really, really tiny dicks. And this is not a crazy idea, because people might not know, but, like, so fun fact, right? Humans have abnormally large dicks relative to our size among the animal world, because gorillas have smaller dicks than humans do, right? I'm pretty sure this is true. Gorilla, let's see, penis size. 3 to 6 centimeters long. That's a gorilla dick. That's a gorilla dick. Okay? So think about that. First of all, if you're a guy in the chat, most of you probably are, pat yourself on the back. Even if you think you don't have the biggest penis in the world, at least you're better off than a fucking gorilla. You know what I mean? And that's pretty impressive, right? Because gorillas are fucking gigantic, jacked creatures, but they've got these tiny dicks. So, yeah, congratulations. Good on you. Like, in the grand... Don't ever let anyone shame you for the size of your dick if you happen to have a micro penis or something. Because just remember, in the grand scheme of things, you're pretty good. You're pretty well off, all right? Back to the theory. Back to One Piece. Back to serious discussion. So the giants... If they were to make this whole Buccaneer race work, right, it would just have to be that giants just have really, really small dicks relative to their size, right? ZamDL, thanks for the 5. If Luffy can get giant, then probably a giant can get small too. No, I like my theory better. The fundraiser says Morj forgetting about horses and elephants. No, those don't count. Come on, those don't count. The horses and... I'm talking in the whatever we are. Scientists, people in the chat, what are we? Primates. In the primate realm of things, right? How are we going to compare to horses and elephants and stuff? That's ridiculous. This is true, by the way. You can Google this. I'm not making this up. Like, like, gorillas should be embarrassed to be around us. I want, like, if a human was ever walking around... Like, you know how gorillas are probably likely, like, if a human just wanders arbitrarily into a gorilla habitat or something, gorillas would probably fuck them up, right? But I do wonder if, like, a guy just went into the gorilla habitat like area just naked, right? And was just like, hey, what's up? You know, just walking around naked. I wonder if it would have the opposite effect, where the gorillas would just be like, oh my, what the fuck is going, what is this? What is going on here? This guy's clearly the alpha male of the tribe at this point. I feel like all the gorilla women would no longer look at their men the same way. I think you could, this is a theory, right? Somebody please go out and test this. I encourage it. Go out, just stroll into a gorilla tribe 100% naked, and then see. I feel like you would gain the respect of the gorillas right away. You know what I mean? I feel like you'd be running shit like pretty fast, right? Because what are they gonna do, right? They would feel so exposed as a species, and just realize that this is like, they would understand who the superior primate is at that point, right? Sean Easton, thanks for the 5. So gorillas have rather small penises. If one were the size of King Kong, it would be 6 inches. Holy shit. Dude, yeah, I'm serious. I think that this is a very testable theory. I believe that no scientist would ever have done this. You guys want to know why Tarzan was able to get by for so many years? Think about it. Also, I can see Bonnie as part of the crew now. That's a video for next week. That's a video for next week. That's a video for next week. The reason we're talking about this is because there's not a lot of this is what happens when we go off of One Piece discussions. There's not a ton of interesting One Piece questions here right now. Bonnie for crew, I think, is something that's a video for next week. It's coming out next week. We're gonna break down the whole thing. I can't go too much into it right here. Yeah, this is a chapter discussion. I guess the chapter, this is a quieter chapter, so this is just what happens. This is the way it goes. Bonnie for Nakama, let me ask, who believes Bonnie will join? Okay, let's start with that. Do you think Bonnie will join the crew? Let's start with that. And then we're going to get to the more important question. Do you want Bonnie to join the crew? That's a whole different debate. Because I have mixed feelings. Majority think Bonnie's going to join the crew at this point. Interesting. Interesting. For the record, I did drop a video towards the beginning of this arc saying Bonnie is pretty much guaranteed to join the crew. And it was not as popular of an opinion then. So, just saying. Look at where we're at today. Okay, now here, so 60-40 split, a little bit over 60. Here's the more significant question. In my opinion, I think that this matters more. Because Oda's going to do what he wants to do at the end of the day, right? But I view the Straughts as they're my favorite cast of main characters in fiction. So, messing with that dynamic, I don't know. Adding more for the sake of adding more, I don't know. Do you want Bonnie to join the crew? Oh, Red X, I haven't seen you in a minute. What's going on, man? Sean Easton, thanks for the 5. Like, I can see her trying to bribe Sanji to get food, like Nami imitating Bellemere. Wait, I'm confused. You're saying Bonnie... Okay, you're talking about the dynamic. Okay, and about 60% of people do want her to join the crew. I wonder if it's the same exact 60%. Like, 60%... The same 60% that think she's going to join is the same 60% that want her to join. I wonder how much just your personal bias plays into these things. I don't know what the overlap is. Interesting. Wait, let me... We can test that, by the way. I'm going to do one last poll just because I'm curious. And then I'll share my opinion. Select below. I think Bonnie will join and... Bonnie will join and I want her to. Bonnie won't join, but I want her to. Bonnie will join, and I don't want. Okay, this is going to be a little confusing, so everyone read carefully, please, here. Everyone read carefully. Alright? Because it's not going to make any sense unless you read carefully. Bonnie will join and I want her to. Bonnie will join. Okay. It's basically asking, do you think she will join? And do you want her to? So there's two separate questions. So we'll figure that out here real quick. I'm trying to figure out like how biased people usually are when they're making their sort of predictions of what they want or don't want to happen. Okay, so Sean's saying, Sean Easton saying, I can see her trying to bribe Sanji to get food, like Nami imitating Bellemere. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, okay, that's already a little, like, Nami imitating Bellemere. Okay, I know what you're saying from when Nami's a kid and the stuff that she's trying to pull. Yeah, I could see that. I think keeping Bonnie away from Sanji is imperative, just because the interactions that I think Oda might think are funny are not necessarily the interactions that the average normal person would think is funny. Just throwing that out there. Jinbei would be a Kuma type for her. Oh, I see, like a fatherish figure, like an older guardian type figure that she could trust, wisdom, etc. Luffy would team up to get food. Yeah, Luffy's basically a kid himself at heart, so I think Bonnie and Luffy would get along very well. Okay, so most people are saying Bonnie will join and I want her to. Okay, interesting split beyond that. Bonnie won't join, but I want her to. Bonnie won't join, but I want. Okay. Alright, so my feeling is basically, I've always been like this, which is I can like a character a lot and not necessarily want them to be a Straw Hat. If you had to ask me right now, I do think it's more, I do think slightly more likely, it's 50-50, I think it's slightly more likely in my mind that Bonnie would join the crew. I think it's complicated. Like, I'll lay it all out in the video that's coming up. But at the same time, do I want her to? Do I want a new crewmate at this point in time? It feels weird. And in general, I feel like with the Straw Hat crew, just the more characters you add past a certain point, it does start to feel like diminishing returns, which is, I can like them individually, but then what it does to the whole crew dynamic, where it's just, you're stuffing so many characters into so few panels, it feels like many of them don't get room to breathe anymore. Oda clearly has his favorites that he still allows to get certain bits of screen time and such, and just everything gets a lot more cluttered. There is flanderization of certain Straw Hats over time. Yeah, I don't know. Like, the idea of a big, fun gang is great, but at the same time, I feel like the crew, just the number of characters the crew necessarily, like a cast of main characters could have worked best with was probably some time ago, in my opinion. But at this point, we've got so many characters, it's almost like, well, if we throw in another one, it's already pretty crowded there, right? So if we throw in another, how much does it matter? So I don't know. L, thanks for the 5. I want her to join, but for some reason, I feel like a giant is going to join the crew. I didn't write the double no correctly. Bonnie won't join, but I want her to. Oh, you're right, I missed... Fuck! I told you guys to read carefully, but then I didn't type it correctly myself. You know what? It doesn't matter. We're past that point. I do think that if I gotta say, how would I have voted? I would have voted, I think Bonnie would join, but I'm almost neutral as to whether I want her to or not. Like, if she joins, I like the character. I'd roll with it. But I'm also kind of past the point where I'm just like, I think we've already got enough Straw Hats. I don't think we needed Jinbei. I definitely don't think we need another beyond Jinbei or even more beyond Jinbei, but we're maybe getting him, so it is what it is. There should have been neutral options. Neutral is just not voting. I think neutral is just not voting. Virgil Hawkins says, I don't expect much individual focus from the Strats anymore. They're all side characters at this point, besides East Blue 5 maybe, so why not add more? I mean, I can understand that perspective, but I still view them as the main characters, personally. I still view them as the main characters, so I don't know. For me personally, let me do, I don't know. Actually, I'm kind of curious about that. I'll do a poll. Nah, I mean, okay, let me ask, do you want more crew members in general? Stanley Barton, thanks for the 5. Over half the crew haven't done anything or contributed anything thought-wise this arc. Don't care about Bonnie anymore if she does join. Yeah. Egghead Island, I really, really like the arc overall, but I think this is an arc where it's kind of glaringly clear that it's just difficult to juggle this many Straw Hats. Because you can't ask for a less crowded environment, right? Egghead is literally, it's just the Straw Hats showing up. There's nobody else on the island, pretty much. It's just Vegapunk and clones of Vegapunk. The clones of Vegapunk, I'm slowly realizing, were only really there to... I mean, York was a necessity, right? So I guess you need to create more clones to justify York existing, right? Because otherwise, if there's just one clone of Vegapunk and it turns out to be evil, then that's a little weird. I'm not weird, it's just too expected, right? So, but yeah, it's an arc with just Vegapunk, the Straw Hats, and some Vegapunk clones, right? Bonnie was another major character, obviously, but it's not like Wano, where you got a ton of different characters, everyone's really in doing so many different long side missions and stuff like that. If there was going to be an arc where, you know, you would expect that the Strats would kind of get some more breathing room. I don't know. This felt like it would be the arc. So this is funny. I asked, do you want more crew members in general? And majority of people are saying no. But when I first asked, do you want Bonnie to join the crew? And I just asked that question, 60% of people said yes. So, I guess what people here are assuming that, like, just general crew members, but they're okay with Bonnie. I don't know. Remix King, thanks for the 2. Which 5 Dex holders do you think would join the crew? Which 5 Dex holders do I think would join the crew? Dex holders, well, we all know that those are people who have Pokedexes, right? And Pokedexes are... everybody has one, as far as I know. So since everyone has a Pokedex, which 5 I would want to join the crew are Ash, Brock, Misty. Wait a second. This is from the fake Pokemon, the other one, right? So I'd want red, blue, green, yellow, and orange to join my crew. I think those would be the best. King G, thanks for the 5. I don't care or want more Straw Hats, but I like Bonnie as a character. I like Bonnie as a character as well. And I think she'd be a good addition, especially with her importance in the story. Yeah, I think her importance in the story... So it turns out that she herself is not individually super important to the story. It's more so her connection to Kuma. But she has potential to be important to the story. And I think her time fruit, with what we just realized it could do, has a lot of potential in the story. I also still think that Bonnie can go give Momonosuke a break over in Wano. Like, I think it would be cool if... Momonosuke is an adult, but I think it would be cool if, you know, once in a while Bonnie could go out and just turn him back into a kid for a little bit so that he can enjoy some time as a kid, and then, you know, just give him breaks in between. Lucky Man, thanks for the 5. I just think she'd have nowhere to go. Her crew is all gone and she doesn't seem to have a goal at the moment, unless Kuma lives and she travels with him. Yeah, it's really, really difficult to see another role for her in the story unless... outside of being a Straw Hat. Arsai says, I just don't want Yamato, Momo, or Tama, but Bonnie is cool. Remix King says, Orange, what the fuck, man, isn't even trying now? What do you mean? How is Orange not a... Why is it ridiculous that Orange is a character but red, blue, and green are just accepted as characters. What? How is there not a? Hold on, hold on, hold on. You don't think orange is a character? Let me see. You don't. How is orange not a character? Okay, orange is not a character, but there. Fuck. Hold on. Hold on. It. I feel like that's some sort of a mistake. Okay, Orange Islands, that's a thing. That's a thing. So if there's islands, why can't there be? I don't know. I feel like, or I don't know. L says East Blue 5 deserve a second backstory like Sanji. I never felt like East Blue 5. No, L, I got you. I never felt like I needed to see a second backstory for any of the other East Blue 5 until what do you call? Until Sanji got one. And then even then I wasn't necessarily like, I didn't really want Zoro to get a second backstory. I just kind of thought that, okay, Wano seems like a likely place. And then we started getting all of these things dropped about him in Wano that seemed to set him up. To, like, we're learning about his family, Ryuma lineage, the fact that he's clearly from Wano, Ushimaru connection, etc. And then it's like, okay, that doesn't matter. But I never needed Zoro to get a second backstory in Wano. For me, it was more like, don't drop stuff that's hinting at lineage and past, etc., if it's just not relevant. And then the bigger thing is, Sanji got a backstory in Whole Cake Island because that helped shape a character storyline for him in Whole Cake Island. That's all I really want. Like, if the Straw Hats can keep getting character storylines, you know what I mean? Like, significant character storylines, which with Zoro was just the weirdest thing because he got stuff to do in Wano. Like, he's running around looking for a sword. He meets Hiyori. He befriends Yasue. None of this builds into an actual character storyline. Like it has nothing to do with what he ends up, like, with the direction that his character ends up going, or it doesn't play into any growth or any development or anything like that. It's just random kind of stuff that he has to do. Which is really strange because I'm just like, if you're going to devote that much of the Wano Act 2 to Zoro stuff, why would it not lead to, like, why would it not be about something? Why is it just random errand stuff like, oh, I'm going to run after a sword, I'm going to meet Yasue, you know, stuff like that. I don't know if Nami needs some sort of special lineage. Trying to make this not whatever. It's just the way it is. Like, Nami is literally, she was found when she was a baby. I don't even know how she would fit in a second. Oh wait, did I? Okay, Philly, thanks for joining the Yonko. Sorry if I didn't say anything when you joined, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Look out for a podcast tomorrow. And for those of you who may have missed it, the Pirate King podcast just came out. So it's an hour long. You guys can check it out. Covers a lot of stuff, both comparing One Piece to other series, comparing One Piece to Game of Thrones, random shit like about snacks and music and stuff like that too. This is an interesting one. It's one of the most varied ones that we've had. But yeah, check it out. It's actually an hour and 20 minutes long. It's longer than usual if you guys want to check out the Pirate King tier. But Yonko tier members, regular weekly podcast is coming out this Friday. Samuel Hart, thanks for the 5. Bonnie has motivation with Blackbeard plus world government, and especially with her having nowhere to go, it would make sense for at least to travel with the group. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on a lot of these thoughts. Check out next week's video. It will be fairly extensive, kind of comparing her to past Straw Hats that join, the things that we usually expect, and just the direction that seems to be set for her in the story. So that's mostly written. You guys can check it out next week. Yeah, I mean, like, if I'm thinking about Nami, with Nami, it was, so Skypiea is a great example where you don't need another backstory to give the Straw Hat something to do in a given arc. Like, Skypiea is a great example because Skypiea features Skypiea is probably Nami's second most prominent arc, and she has a significant character storyline. She has a lot to do there, but she also grows there, changes, gets new perspective, things like that. And she's pivotal to the climax of the arc. Same thing with Chopper. He grows a lot over the course of that arc. Like, there are just arcs where you can have significant character storylines for the Straw Hats that don't demand a second backstory. So Sanji getting a second backstory, that's great, but I don't need to see that for, I don't need Frankie to get a second backstory. I just would love to see him actually have relevance in the Egghead Island arc, because he's in a place filled with technology with the guy that literally inspired it, like, the guy that he literally drew most of his post-time skip knowledge from, and I feel like his role has basically been exactly the same. Virgil Hawkins pointing out that Morj also went more in depth into the into the PS5 giveaway in this month's Pirate King podcast. This is in some ways true. In some ways technically true. Virgil Hawkins kindly submitted a question related to this PS5 that I'm supposedly giving away. Miss Meinstein's Evil says, did Morj like Dragon's moment in the chapter, or he continues to shit on him? How about, I haven't shit on Dragon since the newspaper stuff. Come on now. I haven't shit on Dragon since the newspaper stuff. Like, let me see. Hold on. The last I just, like, literally how long ago was it? Literally 2 weeks ago. Literally 2 weeks ago. I dropped a video that was No One Understands Dragon, defending Dragon. What more could you possibly want from me? But I do think that like I do think the newspaper thing was still kind of, I don't know. I'm still not on board with the newspaper thing. It just makes him look dumb and incompetent. But overall, I definitely have defended the character much more than I think most who have shit on the character. And I think this moment was good for his character. Just establishing that he does have this soft spot in his heart for Luffy and all that. Keister says, the Ridge wallet is ass. No. Oh, Keister says, JK, I bought it and it's actually good. Yeah, the Ridge wallet. People, okay, no lie, the Ridge wallet, getting my dad one for Christmas. Get your dad one. I might get my dad one. I haven't, I don't know if he, will make the attempt to learn to use it. But the Ridge wallet is really, I'm going to show you guys, hold on. Use this wallet. This wallet is great. It's just, this is my regular wallet now. I still have the leather wallet in case I go somewhere where I need, like you just want to have it as backup, basically. But the Ridge wallet is fucking phenomenal. Like, I feel like most people, I don't know if most people would ever transition to using the Ridge wallet, but it's so much easier than the regular wallet. Great pieces. Oh no, he's back. Bro getting paid to say this, LMAO. No, I only get sponsored to say it for one video. This is my wallet at this point. Like, I like this wallet better than a normal wallet because it's just the size of a card. It's actually insane to me that this is just not something that's been thought of before. It's just the size of a card. It's, I don't know. I feel like the one thing I didn't like quite as much was like the Ridge key case, because you don't actually need a thing for keys. Like I don't know. But part of it is because once they gave me the Ridge key case, I was like, wait, I don't actually need most of the keys that I have in my already have in my keychain. So it was kind of a wake up call for me to get rid of a lot of keys, and then I realized I only actually normally use 3 keys. Once I realized I only use 3 keys, I was like, wait, I don't actually need the Ridge key case. But the Ridge wallet, get this wallet. I'm going to give you guys a link. Get this wallet. It is easily, if you have like a guy friend, I guess, more likely male relative, let's say. I was like, who's going to buy their friend a Ridge wallet? But buy it for your dad, buy it for, I don't know, your brother, your son, if you got a son or something like that. You can get it for 30% off right now. Just use my code Morj. You can get it for 30% off. A Goosey Soup says, you also have wallets. I carry all my valuables in my hands. Morj doing tricks on it, not even getting paid. Crazy. Dude, because this is, it goes, this is what, this is like, this is my wallet, so now I'm defensive about it, if that makes sense. Because I'm not defensive, but I'm just like, I feel like people don't understand. It's literally just a better wallet. I feel like I've stepped into the future, but the average person doesn't know, and then they're just walking around with these fat ass wallets, having no idea that we don't need this. These fat ass wallets have been like manufactured by the leather goods industry or something like that. There's no reason for us to have such fat wallets. It doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like if I guess if like I have an Android phone, so if Android sponsored me and then I tried an Android phone and then I was like, wait, this is just really good. Although I've never had an iPhone, so I actually can't compare. Shattered Glass, thanks. Wano's insanely bloated in my opinion, especially earlier chapters. It's interesting because it's really, really, really bloated, and I think it goes all the way through Act 3. Like, literally, Onigashima Battle has, I don't know. Onigashima Battle has so much that I think could be cut or shortened, like the Kazumbo, Apu's entire little plot line, Ice Onis, which were like 10 chapters when they could have been like not in the story at all, preferably. Who would have rather seen Chopper just fight someone versus cure some Ice Onis in some vague ass disease? I feel like there's just no reason that what do you call half of the things that took place in the third act needed to happen. But then it's also really bloated in the second act because the second act is like establishing characters that we don't. It's bloated in that we don't have enough time to care about certain characters, in my opinion. But then all of the like Oda needs 9 scabbards for whatever reason. Like the thing that really blew my mind was when Oda released that thing that explained that he initially was only planning on doing like a few scabbards, but then he kept coming up with more and more and more till he had 9. And I was just like, why though? Like, you know, you're not going to be able to do justice to all of them. You know that they're not all going to get time. And you know that it's taking time away from many other characters. So it just doesn't, I don't know, just doesn't make sense. I definitely feel like it's just, don't get him started on Wano. Yeah, maybe, maybe we don't need to do that. Maybe not today. Maybe not today. Let's talk about good stuff, because right now where the story's at is, in my opinion, in a really good place. I don't want to do a 15th, 50th Wano rant. I do feel that my concern of Oda always erring on the side of more characters than necessary these days is still somewhat valid, because, like, Wano is one thing, but then in Egghead we still have all of these clones and such. I guess I'm kind of justifying it in my head that, okay, the clones were necessary because it helps set up the mystery and the twist, and it justifies the York stuff, and you kind of need an evil Vegapunk for the world government to get their hands on the goods and set up the plot. So I'm kind of like, okay, that makes sense. But then I'm also thinking, okay, so then what if we get to Elbaf and then, you know, we need to learn every single last giant Loki's younger brother, and then his other younger brother, and then, like, it's just bizarre shit that's been happening since the time skip, really, where it's just, like, more characters than needed all the time. Like, who remembers the name of the other 2 princes besides Fukaboshi? Did they need to exist? If so, why? Why did there need to be a minister of the left and a minister of the right? Why? Like, it's just so much random stuff, and all these characters, it adds up in that they take up bits and bits and bits and bits of more screen time, and maybe I'll think of, like, a bit of a gag that he wants to make sure that this character has and such. I don't know, and then the gag takes up a bit of time. It just all adds up to bloat, I think. So we'll see with Elbaf. I'm just like, My fingers are actually really crossed for Laugh Tale. My fingers are crossed for Laugh Tale. Because Laugh Tale, I feel like, is the one arc that we could really hope for will be maybe just primarily Straw Hat focused, and we won't be really learning about a bunch of new island citizens or anything like that. Maybe we can really just hone in on the Straw Hats and let their story play out. The final war, when that happens, I don't think I'll mind if there will be a lot of characters, because the characters that will be involved will be all characters that have been set up over decades that we were actually going to be interested in seeing about. Like, we're not going to mind if it's like, oh no, this chapter focused on Dragon and Sabo and like Karasu. Oh my god, what a terrible chapter. Oh no, this chapter it featured Mihawk. Oh my god, this is so bloated. No, we're gonna like seeing that shit, right? Same reason Marineford was so exciting, but just even more in-depth and elaborate, you know? Ryochia, thanks for the 5. My birthday is January 1st, and I want the Wano video for my birthday, and carrot for Nakama. So, fun fact, January 1st, people, I feel bad for you because anybody that has their birthday on one of those big type, you know, holidays, right? New Year's Eve, Christmas, it's gotta just suck because, it's gotta suck because it's just like, you don't really get to celebrate your birthday, right? Your birthday is always going to be New Year's Eve almost first and then something else, right? And obviously people will probably be tired from partying the night before to maybe, you know, go to your birthday party. I don't know. But yeah, last year, someone in my circle of friends, her birthday is on New Year's. And last year, somebody else planned this or whatever, but we threw a big surprise party that turned into a New Year's party. But surprise party for her because she'd never really gotten a birthday party because it's always like New Year's or whatever. So that was fun. It was like a big New Year's / birthday party. So that was like a fun thing to do. Anyway, hopefully somebody does that for you. I don't know. And carrot for Nakama. I think that ship has, sailed. L says hashtag rage to failed. Hey, you're preaching to the choir. I agree. Fukaboshi, Mamboshi, and I forgot. Yeah, and like, when I go back to Fishman Island, I just see panels of the 3 of them coming in, and like, 2 of them are dancing and like doing random dance. I'm like, why was this written? Why did they don't need to exist. Like, Fukaboshi, cool. We do need that character to a degree. You need that to kind of fill out the climax of Wano and some of the ideas and everything. But it's just like, why do we need another brother on top of him? We don't need another brother who does nothing. And then we definitely don't need a third brother that just exists as kind of like to make the 2 extra brothers like a sideshow type gag. I don't know. It's weird. Oof says Nekomamushi was criminally underutilized, though, I will admit. Again, I think I've always said, some of the scabbards I liked initially, but just once you start making them this big group ensemble instead of giving them more time and more stuff for their own stories, a lot of it kind of just gets jumbled. Like, I don't care about Kawamatsu, you know? I thought Ashura Doji was the most interesting initially, but then as soon as he kind of joined, you know, the Scabbard side and stopped being against them, he just became part of the squad, and he had no individuality again. Like, he had no individuality from then till the moment that he made his sacrifice. And then the sacrifice, we don't talk about how the sacrifice was done. It could have been great, but, you know. Yeah, it's just once they became a big bunch of characters, you know. Wait, am I missing a super? Give me a second. Is it from Remix King? Give me 1 second. I don't think I've missed one. Oh no, Tom, I did miss one. With Wano not really being Zoro's arc, do you still believe that Nami will have Lodestar as her arc? Not saying she gets a backstory. So there's arcs where characters can get a bit more significance than normal. In Wano, Zoro definitely did get more significance than normal, right? Down to even, you know, him and Luffy both being knocked out for the same amount of days, and them being like the last 2 Straw Hats waking up, like they woke up at the same time. Oda was doing some stuff to kind of elevate Zoro a little bit. He was on the rooftop, got a moment against Kaido. It's just none of it was really significant for his character, in my opinion. It was just extra stuff to do. So I would really, really hope, which is crazy because Oda really likes Zoro. You know, like Oda clearly gives Zoro a lot of important moments and like hype moments and stuff like that. So it's just kind of surprising that that didn't really happen in an arc where, like, even just go back and read Act One. Act One is the Luffy and Zoro show. So it really feels like if Oda was gonna give Zoro an elevated storyline in any arc, it's that arc. But again, it's just he got more stuff to do. It was almost just like he didn't need that extra screen time because none of it was really connected to his fight against King. Outside of like getting the sword, but getting the sword was just checking off like a plot point. It wasn't really like a whole character storyline that like Zoro, like from start to finish, like the process of him like meeting Yasue through meeting Hiyori, through chasing after the sword, to then getting a new sword, to then the Yasue moment, etc. It's not like that whole storyline really had anything to do with the fight that he had against King. The fight that he had against King was a totally new problem. Like, oh my god, wait, like I gotta learn to fight more recklessly or something like that, right? I don't know with Nami in Lodestar if she's going to get something similar. Like, is it going to be just that she gets more stuff to do, or is she going to get some character storyline like Sanji did in Whole Cake Island? I think Nami really does need a bit more of a character storyline, just because, at least with Zoro, because he's the second strongest in the crew, he's always going to get cool moments, and at the end of the day, like, a lot of people will just be satisfied with that. With Nami, she doesn't get that much to do in general compared to Zoro, because navigating's not always going to be as relevant plot wise. So I feel like she's really owed some significant character stuff at this point in time. I don't think. Oh, sorry. By the way, I don't think Lodestar would be the arc either. I feel like Laugh Tale is a better shot, but I don't know. Ultimate Simon says, imagine if Yasue gave his sword Zoro, which is Enma, that he was holding for Odin. I don't know. I think some sort of connecting the beats of what Zoro did throughout Act 2 and Act 1 to the story of his fight with King, I think better would be, cool. Geoffrey Connor says, that sweater is dope. Do you want it, my friend? Would you like it? Would you like this sweatshirt? You can get it. Here you go. You can get it right now. Oh, I don't want to remove the ridge. Well, no. The ridge thing has to go. Get your ridge wallets right now. Click them. You get 30% off. Buy them for whoever. It's shirt time. This shirt, you can get variations of it. You can get it as a t-shirt. You can also get the hockey design. I am partial to this design just because this is more so something that I would personally wear. Yeah. Adolescence says, is anyone still confused on what Zoro wanted to ask Vegapunk? I think that that's just a misinterpretation of that scene and maybe some messy translations. It was because their friends were missing and Vegapunk was basically cornering them, and Zoro was just like, yeah, we're gonna kill you, tell us. Like, the implication was, you've got our friends or something like that, you gotta tell us where they are. I don't think it was ever implied that Zoro has something special that he wants to learn from Vegapunk that's unique to him. Elsa's sweatshirt giveaway? Of sorts. Of sorts. You can definitely acquire them. I'll say that. You can definitely acquire them. "3D Table says, feels like it was supposed to be tied to revealing his origin, but for whatever reason, Oda decided not to do it. Because the SBSs exist. You can always reveal stuff there." Let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. I do wonder what Nidai Kitetsu is for. I really do. Juan Martinez brought it up. Maybe it was literally just to establish that Nidai Kitetsu exists. That, I don't know, just some fun lore stuff there. That there's Nidai Kitetsu, that the same blacksmith. Also, it's really random to me that Hitetsu was so good at being a swordsmith. I guess the Kazuki clan were always talented smiths. Like, they made the poneglyphs, so I guess that makes sense. Yeah, maybe Odin just never learned, but Odin could have been good or something. Who knows? L says, I'm a cop one. It looks smooth as fuck. Thank you, L. I appreciate it. Yeah, just check out the website. Red X says, I think Zoro will obtain all three Katetsu blades. So I've liked that idea when I've heard it before, just because, one, to date, I think my favorite Zoro sword acquisition was, what's his name? Ippon Matsu? Let me see. Yeah, Ippon Matsu. I love this. One of my favorite Zoro scenes, period, is Zoro earning Sandai Katetsu in Ippon Matsu's shop, right? That's one of my favorite Zoro scenes, and it's my favorite moment of Zoro acquiring a sword. Okay? So, I don't want him to ever lose that sword. Now, the flip side is, would he ever end up in a situation like Enma seems important, right? Wado Ichimonji is obviously important. I'm like, what situations would ever happen that he would lose those two swords? I don't think that it would happen, right? Zoro losing Wado Ichimonji could make for a really great moment. Like, if it's broken or something like that, it could be very... And then Zoro has to step up and, I don't know, like, losing... It could be a very dramatic moment with Zoro, like, feeling like his dream just broke, but then going on to become the world's strongest swordsman anyway. But I just don't feel like Oda would take that step. And I think it would be also just good for the reader to be able to see Wado Ichimonji go from start of his story all the way to the finish. So for those reasons, I'm like, I think it's unlikely that Zoro ultimately gets 3 Katetsu blades. It would be cool, though, in theory, if, like, you know, he's just wielding all 3 of them. It would fit his persona fairly well, but I don't think it's likely. Shattered Glass, thanks a lot, bro. We haven't gotten Imu Nika flashback yet. Yeah, I know. Wait, you think we're supposed to get that now? I'm not sure what your point is with that comment. Oh, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Ultimate Simon says, what if Zoro beats Mihawk with just one fist? I don't think even the biggest Zoro fan in the world believes that that's a possibility, but, you know, you never know. I've seen some of the Zoro Four Swords theories, but I just don't think that Oda has ever really broken down the specialties of swords enough that it would really make sense to for us to see him swapping out, you know? Like, if I were to compare to, say, Asta and Black Clover, without getting too much into it, he does swap out his swords frequently, but that's because each sword has a distinct use and difference to what they bring to the table. When I'm reading, like, Zoro stuff, I'm never quite like, oh, it would make such a difference if Zoro had Sandai Katetsu in his mouth and Wado Ichimonji in this hand instead, or so. Like, Oda just never gets into it much. I guess the most that we've ever gotten is understanding that Shusui was physically harder than the other blades. Like, as a black blade, it was physically harder. And I think it was said that Yubashiri's kind of light. That's pretty much it. Like, I might be even misremembering that. I just don't think it would matter that much. There's images of Zoro online with his infamous four-sword style. I'm not talking about that, but I do know what you're referring to. No, I know what you're talking about. The Black Blur says Zoro with Yoru in his mouth. I just don't. I don't think Zoro would be able to hold Yoru in his mouth. Wait, so let me take a quick look again. Yoru is. Wait. One Piece sword grades. So right now, the Supreme Braid. Okay, for some reason I thought that Yoru was like even higher than Supreme Grade Blade, but I guess not. Roger's sword, I forgot his name. Ace. Okay, Shodai Kitetsu. Okay. So in theory, if Zoro's able to turn some blades black, then shit. You know what? I think it's very likely that now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, one, does Sandai Kitetsu make it to the end of the story? Because it's the lowest of the special grade blades, right? And if Wado Ichimonji turns black and Enma turns black, then Zoro would have 2 supreme grade blades, and then he'd just have this one extra skillful grade blade once Sandai Kitetsu turns black. On the flip side, Nidai Kitetsu is a great grade blade. So I'm just like, could that... If Zoro had Wado Ichimonji, Nidai Kitetsu, and Enma, and he turned all of them black, then he would have 3 supreme grade blades, which seems a little bit more symmetrical. I don't know if Oda cares about that. I also don't know why we have... I don't think Oda needed... I think that... So right now, there's 2 grades. There's skillful grade and grade blades. Like, there's just a grade called grade blades, and then there's skillful grade. Like, there's just a grade called grade, and then there's skillful grade. I think those should have been the same thing. Because there's only... Like, there's barely any swords in either of them, so it doesn't really make any sense. Yokai Gata says, if Wado turns black, Zoro will get rid of it. Dude, it is surprising how frequent the consistency is with which that meme comes up. It is surprising, right? Like, it is just a joke, but it is... Like, who the fuck has he fought that's a significant opponent that is not some sort of dark-skinned or minority character? I think it's just Kaku, man. I think it's pretty much just Kaku. Pika's white. Philly, thanks. Maybe he gives We Enjoys back to Momo. Okay, you're saying maybe he gives Enma back to Momo. We Enjoys. Dirk, thank you for the 20. First time catching you live. Wow. Was lurking in 2019 and subbed at the Oda Hates Sanji video. I forgot I wrote that. Oh, by the way, Oda doesn't hate Sanji. The video was about how Oda doesn't hate Sanji. It was just about what people were saying about Sanji at the time. I experienced the raid failing arc when I caught up to the manga. That was a story arc, both in real life and in the manga, for sure. When I caught up to the manga, what a time to be reading weekly. Glad to see the channel grow since. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for dropping in. Thanks for the generous first donation. I appreciate it. Yeah, hope to see... I don't know. Hope you continue enjoying watching videos and all that stuff. Got a good video coming out next Tuesday, I think. I don't know. African giraffe? Oh, shit. Are all giraffes from Africa? I'm pretty sure they are, right? Please let there be... Yeah, wild giraffes are only found on the African continent. That's not a good look, man. He fought monkeys on Mihawk Island. All right, that's racist. What was Monet? Monet was a white woman. There's no way to spin that. She was clearly a white woman. But because she was a white woman, he did not want to fight her, if people remember. He didn't want to attack her. He actually specifically was like, I refuse to, I'm just not going to hurt her. That was actually the story of the entire battle. And then in the end, he actually didn't. He just pretended to. So, yeah, it actually doesn't help his case. I also, on a side note, I hope that Zoro's whole shtick of, like, not fighting women, I hope that comes back into play in the story, because it was so out of the blue and so random. Nobody associated that with Zoro beforehand. Um, because honestly, like, yeah, nobody associated that with Zoro beforehand. And it's also not even true, because it's just like, you can um, look at what he did to Miss Monday. I don't want to show panels on this stream, but look at what he did to Miss Monday. You know? It's like, maybe I could pull up an anime clip. It was just really random, and it just doesn't seem important for its story at all. It just didn't come up again. I'm like, will it come full circle? Zoro versus Smoothie or something like that? Is there anything? It's so arbitrary that he's just like, out of the blue, 650 chapters into the story. Oh yeah, I'm also like Sanji. I also don't hit women. I don't know. Holy shit! This does make Zoro look really bad, actually, if you're looking at this, because it's just like, like, look at this. This is I think there's a clear difference in how he treated Monet versus how he treated Miss Monday. This is not good. This is not good. I know it's just a joke, but it's a weirdly consistent meme in regards to Zoro. Weirdly consistent meme. Oof says that was a mistake. He had no issue killing 50 women at Whiskey Peak. I don't think he killed 50 women at Whiskey Peak. I feel like he did injure a lot of people at Whiskey Peak, but is it confirmed he killed them? I think in the news it said something like he killed them, but I don't know. Did he do anything to Miss Valentine? I forget. Yeah, I just don't know. Also, I feel like Zoro's reason for not attacking women was just weird, because, how do I explain this? If you compare it to Sanji, okay, Sanji in general is obviously more sexist than Zoro, right? More, like, he will go to ridiculous lengths to not hurt a woman. But when you understand Sanji's reasoning, it's kind of just, it's not logic based at all, but it's literally just, he had it beat into him as a kid, you're just never supposed to hurt a woman, right? It's just something that's beat into him. Sanji's never provided any sort of a reason or anything like that, or any sort of logic behind it. He's just like, I just think a man should never hurt a lady, right? That's his spiel to it, right? That's just Sanji's, what he's been taught, right? And it's just really deeply ingrained in him, and he clearly puts women on a pedestal. But it is almost more like he's putting women on a pedestal, therefore he's not going to hurt them, right? With Zoro, it's so bizarre, because it's just like, he literally believes that, like, Tashigi asks him, like, you're not going to hit, like, well, you believe that women are just weaker than men in combat, right? And that's why. And it's just like, that's actually Zoro's belief. And obviously, look, in the real world, things are different, but in the One Piece world, like, there are, like, Zoro knows that there's a Yonko that's a woman, right? He's seen strong female, like, strong women fighters and stuff like that before, right? So Zoro's is more just like, it's his own personal logic, which is just like, well, I just think women aren't as good at fighting as men are, basically, so I'm just not going to fight a woman. Whereas with Sanji, it's more at least like brainless, so you can kind of, I don't know, accept it. With Zoro, it's kind of his own personal logic and conclusion. It's a little weird. Oof says, I don't think in the manga it says they die. Damn, maybe they did die. Alright. Yeah, we'll move on. Omar Wright says, Morj, how strong do you think the Gorosei are? My feeling is that there's a spectrum. I think there's a bit of a spectrum, and I think that it's possible that I think at their weakest, a Gorosei would be about as strong as an admiral. But I wouldn't be surprised if some Gorosei are as strong as Yonko, basically. And again, I get that the Yonko to admiral spectrum in itself is debatable. So I guess what I'm saying is that like that's just what I'm assuming their range would be. So if you think Admiral and Yonko are really close together, then I guess all the Gorosei are pretty tightly packed together. If you think the Yonko are solidly stronger than the Gorosei, I'm still kind of maintaining. Like I maintain the same opinion. Like I think that there are Gorosei that are. I wouldn't be surprised if a Gorosei is stronger than a Kainu, is what I'm saying. And I wouldn't be surprised if the weakest Gorosei would be about Kizaru's level or something like that. I do personally feel like Saturn is stronger than Kizaru, is the vibes that I'm getting right now. So at least one Gorosei is stronger than an Admiral. It should also be mentioned that right now, from what we see, the Gorosei, I can't pull up panels right now, but the Devil Fruit is obviously very strong, right? A very, very strong Devil Fruit. Probably one of the strongest mythical Zoans, period. But two, the Haki is insane. Because if you go back and look at the chapters where the first two chapters that Saturn is in his Devil Fruit form, right before the flashback starts, he's letting out a tremendous amount of Haki. Like, just his presence alone, there's a lot of Haki, like black lightning and stuff coming out from there. That's not common. Characters really don't do. The only characters that we've seen have that effect are Yonko characters. And usually they're having to do something. Like, even Kaido, I'm not saying Gorosei Saturn's stronger than Kaido, I'm just putting perspective into things to say that don't underestimate what this is, because even like Kaido and Big Mom, right? For them to be leaking out mass amounts of Haki that could be seen from a distance, that only ever happened when they were like Big Mom was yelling, when she was doing her huge yell. That was leaking out a lot of Haki. Or when Kaido was, I think he yelled at Luffy on the rooftop after Big Mom died. I'm not remembering exactly, but Kaido's had a similar moment where, you know, Haki's just leaking out of him and everything. But it's not common, right? It's a big display. With Saturn, it's just like, just his presence alone, there's a tremendous amount of lightning that can be seen from a distance by Marines. Like, he's not yelling, he's not exerting force or anything like that. He's just existing, and there's a ton of Haki coming out from there. So I think that that's pretty interesting. I think that's pretty telling that this is a character that has both a very strong Devil Fruit and really strong Haki. Again, not saying that this means he has stronger Haki than the Yonko or anything. I'm just saying that Oda's clearly depicting a very, very high level Haki user right here, and we don't really know exactly where to gauge them just yet. Miss Mindstein's Evil with a great point. He says, he did. In chapter 269, he's pissed and he'll attack Robin because she's a woman. That's true. I think that is the first time that I can remember. You're right. There was a hint. There was a hint that Zoro's got a very, like, he does view men and women differently in combat. That's definitely very, very true. It seems a little bit, no, I mean, it happened. It's just not something that's ever come up blatantly in the story before. So that's why it was a bit of a surprise when it happened again. And I think a lot of us were kind of like, we don't need two members of the crew with this sort of mentality. But, yeah, you can't say that it wasn't at least hinted at one point in time. Because it was. Saturn's a Sith Lord. It looks like Haki lightning. He uses Haki like it's the Force. Yeah, I mean, it would be cool to see if Saturn can showcase some new uses of lightning. Not lightning, of Haki. Oh, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. The Disciple, thanks for the 5. Have you heard of the anime The Mysterious Cities of Gold? No. Sun God, Ancient Kingdom / Weapons, Shanks, Robin, Road Poneglyphs. Oda 100% copied the lore. I've heard this type of thing before. I've always been skeptical, but let me take a look. So it's called The Mysterious Cities of Gold. Oh, there's a whole Reddit post about it that came out, talking about how similar it is to One Piece. Oh, what? It came out in 1982. Fuck. Oh, man. 1982 to 1983. Let me check what age Oda would have been, because this sounds like prime formative years type age. So, Oda was born in 1975. Whoa, what? Guess whose birth... Okay, is Rei Uchiha still here? I think it was Rei Uchiha. Is Rei Uchiha still here? I did not know this. Fun fact. Yeah. Is Rei Uchiha still here? Speak up. Speak up. Oda's birthday is January 1st. I did not know that. His birthday is also on New Year's. Did anybody else know that? I did not know that. Anyway, Oda born 1975. Shit, this anime came out around the time that he was 7 to 8 years old. I would not be surprised if it has some degree of influence on him. Shit. You guys want to read the plot together? Let's read the plot real quick. Maybe it's similar. Because you know what series I was watching when I was 8 years old? Fucking One Piece. That's when I got into One Piece. 3rd grade. And I think it's safe to say that's had a formative experience. That's formative experience on me. You know? This is a great point. We're going to pull up the plot real quick. Julian Criswell, thanks for the 5. Zoro's opponents being black is a result of writers making the number 2 a person of color. Captain Amer / Falco, Iron Man / War Machine, Ethan Hunt / Luther, list goes on in media. That's true, but you usually see that with, like, the good guys' side. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a nice way to... Nice, whatever. It's the simple way to have diversity, you know? It's just like, okay, the hero is obviously going to be this white person, but, you know, we'll give him a POC sidekick or something like that, right? Because you can't just have a white guy with another white sidekick that's too white, right? You gotta, that's just the way that movies think nowadays. Not putting any thoughts out there either way on it. I'm just saying that's the way things are. It might just be more of a Oda thing where, like, he kind of likes that sort of, like, the number 2 being a, like, visually darker character or something. I don't know. I mean, there's random trends that Oda has. Like, has anybody else noticed that in every Yonko crew, or not every Yonko crew, but most Yonko crews, the number 3 guy is, the number 3 character is thick, right? Jozu, Queen, you know? Where were we at? I had better, Lucky Roo. Yeah, Jozu, Queen, Lucky Roo, they're all basically the same body type, you know what I mean? Smoothie is thick. I don't know if Burgess is the number 3 guy on Blackbeard's crew at the moment, but it's possible. But yeah, sometimes there's just random similarities that you see visually that the author just likes. Anyway, let's look at this thing. Let's read up on this. All right. Jinbei is not the number 3 guy on the on Luffy's crew. He's number 4. Leave Sanji alone. Sanji worked hard for this title of being the 3rd character, the 3rd strongest on the Stride crew. His name is literally San. It's like 3 is in his name. Leave him be. All right. In 1532, a Spanish... Oh, man, is this going to be boring? How long is this? Okay, it is about adventuring, a navigator. Oh, Spanish orphan joins a navigator? Fuck. Okay, 7 cities. This is it takes place in... It's like a South American type series, but it's an anime? That's interesting. Bernard. Ah, that's cool. It's a fusion type thing because it's created by someone who seems... I don't know the correct terms. Hispanic, Latino, etc. Like, from South America. Sorry. Maybe Spanish. I don't know. Maybe it's Spanish. I don't know. Something from either Spanish stuff or South American stuff / Central America stuff. Either from Spain or there. Those are the areas and associated places. You guys... Anyway, it's a fusion because it's that with a Japanese person. So that's interesting, right? All right. Let's move it along. Wait. Am I screen sharing? You guys can see this, right? All right, cool. Okay, they're clearly in South America because they're talking about the Incas, the cities of gold, the New World, etc. Interesting. The last descendant of a sunken empire. So there's a sunken empire. Of Mu. Aw, shit. Mu is basically Emu. Right? Land of Mu. Oh my god. Well, it's similar, right? TY, thanks for being a member for 14 months. I can't believe Oda never watched Godzilla before. Alright, I'm going to shout this out again. Go watch Godzilla -1. Go watch Godzilla -1. I took a long think about it. I'm like, this is... Out of all the action-type blockbusters I've seen, I took a long think about it since the previous stream I talked about this. Godzilla -1 in the history of me seeing movies, I put it Lord of the Rings is my favorite action type blockbuster. And I count all three movies as one because it's basically one long movie, right? All created together, all directed together. It's just one long movie pieced into three parts, right? It's one thing. Lord of the Rings is my favorite. Dark Knight is probably my second. Godzilla minus one is easily third. And I could see myself preferring Godzilla minus one on a given day, even over the previous two. But at the moment, I'm saying it's third. The reason it's third and it can't move up is simply because of the last 1% of the movie, the post-conflict resolution, I think is just it ruins a perfect movie for me, basically. All right, but I think most people won't care as much as I care about it. But Godzilla minus one, phenomenally good. I've not seen an action blockbuster like that in I don't even know how long. Like, yeah, since The Dark Knight, I suppose. It's really, really, really fucking good. It's phenomenal. Go watch it. If you're watching and you're like, I don't get why it's so good, it gets better as the movie goes on. Because it took me a while to really get on board with it. Fun fact. So, I went with a group of friends. The theater I was in actually had a problem, so all of its projectors went down at a certain point, partway through the movie. It was about 2/3 through the movie. And so all the projectors in for every movie went down for a bit. And it was got out for like 15 minutes. So I was considering leaving. And I'd been enjoying the movie so far. I thought it was a good movie at that point. I was 2/3 in. And I was considering leaving. I was like, if it went on another 10 minutes, I would have probably just left because I had something else to do that day. But it came back on. And the final third of the movie just takes everything that had already happened and ramps it up to another level. The final third of the movie is phenomenal. Except for the last fucking 1%. If we could just remove the post-climax, whatever. It's the way it is. But it's a movie that definitely gets better over the course of it. And by the end, I was like, holy shit, this is one of the most dramatic, emotionally powerful stories I've seen in such a long time. One of the most just raw, realistic depictions you could ever possibly have of something that's like Godzilla. And really, Godzilla is not the important part of it. It has almost nothing to do. Like, Godzilla is just a thing that needs to exist for the drama of the story to function and the ideas of the story to come through. It is really, really fucking good. Anyway, Chillax Rita says, Morj, watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. That shit clears. I mean, I believe you. Everyone said amazing things about that movie. I could totally believe that it would make its way to, the top 3 action blockbusters I've seen. I just haven't seen it yet, so I can't really relate. Like, I can't really rate it on that same scale. I'm just telling you, out of the things that I have seen, I put Godzilla minus one right up there. Oof says my favorite movie is Morj BS2. It's Morjin time. Let's keep learning about this. The series is a mix of South American blah 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 and science fiction. Okay, so they travel a lot. They discover many lost technological wonders. Oh, that's cool. Including a solar-powered ship? Fuck. The sun's power is important to this. They're constantly pursued by antagonists. Gaspard? Oh, shit. Well, no, Gaspard doesn't matter. Gaspard is a general name. He's a famous person as is, right? Okay. For those of you who don't know, Gaspard was the villain of One Piece movie, like 4 or 5 or something. I haven't seen it, but I saw the fight. I watched the fight on YouTube. He has, like, his weakness is flour. He's like a Logia, like a slimy Logia or something. I don't know. The 7 Cities of Gold. Okay, everyone listen up. You're getting the answers to all of One Piece right here. The answers to everything. Oh, Yokai Gata is just throwing something out. Everything Everywhere All at Once, Inception, Interstellar, Dark Knight, John Wick 4, Mad Max Fury Road, and Spider-Man 2 are in my top 10. Spider-Man 2 is a great little insertion there. I like all the movies that you mentioned there. Okay, this is going to sound like blasphemy. I'm not a huge Mad Max fan. I actually don't care for Mad Max much at all. It is very impressive what they did. I feel like the movie peaked too early with a lot of its set pieces, and I feel that it did hit a bit of a kind of a level of repetition over the course of the story, in terms of just the type of action that they were doing and the visuals that they were showing. And I don't think that they mixed it up well. And like, it was impressive what they did, but at a certain point, I was like, I've seen this sort of sequence plenty of times at this point. And I think lastly, I think the characters and the writing was really, really ass. So, and kind of corny and stupid at some points, which I don't really mind, but it won't, it's never gonna, like, when I'm talking about, like, my favorite, like, action type blockbusters period, I need that part of it to be good as well. That's the same reason, like, I really enjoyed John Wick 4, but the actual writing was really, it's John Wick, kind of dumb at points. So I'm never going to put it up there exactly. Whereas, Inception, I did genuinely enjoy for the character drama, etc. as well, and, like, the plot. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I don't know how well it holds up. Interstellar, mixed bag for me, but the more I think about Interstellar, the more I respect it as a movie. Dark Knight, of course, and Spider-Man 2, surprisingly really good. I think one of the best just character movies for a superhero that we've had in a long, long, long time. I don't know if there's anything Marvel-wise that I would say is as good of a character storyline as Peter Parker in Spider-Man 2, to me personally. But no disrespect to anyone who, like, I think Mad Max Fury Road is a really impressive movie. It's just not something I really will ever want to revisit personally. TY, thanks for being a member for 14 months. I can't believe Oda... No, we covered this. You're the person that set us down this road. The Water God, thanks for the 5. Hey, Morj, what do you think will be Emu's villain motivation? I think it could just be a generic... Not generic, but I think it's kind of like a God complex type thing. Similar to NL, similar to Doflamingo. I don't think it has to be... I mean, Doflamingo has, obviously, separate motivations for wanting to take down the Celestial Dragons, but I do think just... closer to an NL type. Can someone do something about Noodle Squad? Yeah, I think just general god complex, wanting to rule, etc. I think that's kind of the route that Oda goes with those type of monarch villains for the most part. All right, so continuing to solve One Piece. The 7 cities of gold were built by the Emperor of Hiva out of fear that a global war would destroy all civilizations. Oh, interesting. A war broke out, destroying the empires of Mu and Atlantis when they used the weapons of the sun. Ancient weapons? Hold copies of the books in universal libraries as... Oh my god, this sounds like poneglyphs. Sun being really important. Ah, shit, man. This seems really similar. I'm kind of skimming at this point. Not similar, but there does seem to be some potential influences. Alright, someone ask in an SBS if Oda has ever... Ask Oda if he's ever watched the Mysterious Cities of Gold. Somebody asked that. Oof says he stopped, leave him be. Yeah, leave him be. Once he stopped, leave him alone. Noodle Squad, that guy never existed. That's funny. Vitor Metos says, I wouldn't pay any heed to the Reddit post. There are a lot of vague stretches, like comparing an amulet given by a mentor figure to the Straw Hat. Ah, shit, that sounds similar to me. Fuck. Also, comparing a scene to one of the anime endings, which is obviously not created by Oda. Oh, that's, yeah. Okay. So we're going to move away from that, but that is interesting. Julian Stone says, seriously, it's worth it. I don't usually see movies. Yeah, I mean, I should stop talking about Godzilla -1. I think it's just rare that... it's been a long-ass time since I've seen a movie in theaters that I enjoyed as much as I did that I would, like, go out and just talk about and promote it to the degree that I am, I guess. Just such a pleasant surprise. I wasn't even gonna watch it. I had a group of friends that were going to watch it, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch it because it's just, it's a Godzilla movie. I thought it was part of the Godzilla versus King Kong universe. It's not. It's its own thing. I found that out the day before, or like the night before. I was just seeing on Twitter people talking about Godzilla minus one. I was like, wait, this is not Godzilla versus King Kong stuff? Then I saw it's got like 100%, 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. I was like, why does a Godzilla movie have such good reviews? And then I just signed on to watch it. I was like, last minute decision. Definitely don't regret it. Also, like, I nearly left the theater partway through. I would have missed the best part of it. So yeah. Tutorial Boss says, reminds me of Lion King taking the plot of Kimba the White Lion. No, so that is a common misconception that I believed for a long time as well. That Lion King was ripped off from Kimba the White Lion. But there's a YouTube channel that I used to watch when I was much younger, but then I stopped, but then it put out this huge video essay disproving it. It's from Your Movie Sucks. Your Movie Sucks is the YouTube channel. And he basically watched all of Kimba. It's a video that basically the whole thing was a lie. The Lion King 100% did not rip off Kimba the White Lion. A lot of the things that people believe are misconceptions. Not really true. The order of events are incorrect, etc. All right. It's a video that has like 6.7 million views. It's just Your Movie. It's from YMS, Kimba the White Lion. It disproves the whole thing. You don't need to watch all of it. It's literally you can understand the gist. You can understand what he's getting at. You get the gist of it within the first 20 minutes, but he really goes hard. So he spends a full 2.5 hours disproving every single thing that people have said about Kimba the White Lion and Lion King. Because the dude actually went and watched all of Kimba. He watched like the entire series and like all the movies and stuff like that. He put in like 100 hours of research or whatever in understanding. Then he went into all the rabbit holes of the interviews, the timeline, etc. The entire thing is a lie. If anything, Kimba ripped off the Lion King parts of it. So it's interesting. It's just YMS, Kimba the White Lion. You don't need to watch the full 2.5 hours. I've only watched the first 20 minutes, but basically ever since he dropped that, it kind of became like, I thought that most people knew it at this point, that it's it was disproven, just because like from here on, anytime I've seen that rumor mentioned on Twitter or Reddit, people just bring up this video. But good to know that there's still some people who are not yet aware. Important to spread information to counteract previous rumors and disinformation. Again, no problem with that, because I also personally believed for a long time that The Lion King, which by the way is my favorite animated movie, it just meant the most to me as a kid. The Lion King, my personal favorite animated movie. I was like, damn, it kind of sucks that like it was apparently parts of it were ripped off from some Japanese thing, or whatever. But that's not the case. It's been disproven. Yeah, it is. It does rip off Hamlet, though. It does rip off Hamlet. Lion King does rip off Hamlet. That can't be defended. But at the end of the day, it's just like so many stories take some aspects from from other stories, right? I prefer The Lion King to Hamlet, if that helps. I find it more entertaining. Now people are talking about best animated movie. All I can say is like, look, I think your favorite animated movie is often going to depend on like what you experienced that hit you the hardest as a kid. Obviously, I understand like you can grow up and still love animated movies. We all spend I spend the better part of like my week talking about One Piece, like an animated series, right? But I do think that a lot of that comes down to nostalgia as well, or just as a kid, what affected you the most. My argument that I always make for Lion King is simply that I think it is the most powerful, like, to me, it's the most powerful and dramatic story, like the story of someone's, an animated character's life from childhood to adulthood. Like, it's a very, um, very powerful, very dramatic, sort of larger than life coming of age story that also takes place in the backdrop of this whole idea of like kingdoms and ascension to power, um, and I don't know. There's just something very, very grand that I get from Lion King that I think it tries to address something that goes beyond the scope of what most animated movies are comfortable trying to go after. And I think the themes of it are significantly more mature than what you would see in most animated movies. Like I can watch The Incredibles and love The Incredibles, but the ideas of the Lion King and the grandeur of the story that it's telling, it really is telling a very epic tale that you walk through this young boy's journey, this coming of age story from like a boy to a king. I just think that there's a scope and scale to it all, and grandiosity to it all that I just haven't seen approached in any animated movie since then, personally. Yeah, some people have Nemo as their best animated movie. Some people have like Nemo's a really good movie, obviously. Um, Treasure Planet, underrated one. Hercules, underrated as hell. Yeah, Hercules is underrated. I people might not like this, but I personally am not. For me, I mean, there are 3D animated movies that I really enjoy, but for me personally, I think I'll never love a 3D animated movie as much as I love like a 2D animated movie. It just can't, because for me, animation at the end of the day, I just love the 2D anime. Like that's just more artistically beautiful to me. Uh, I can really enjoy the story and the characters of 3D animated movies, of course, but at the end of the day, it still feels like I'm looking at, like, just in comparison, I still feel like I'm looking at bulky blocks. There's just a magic for me personally in 2D animation, like a beauty to it, like the feeling of a painting coming to life, right? It just feels a bit more imaginative to me, and that's really what I look to for in animation. So, like Toy Story, obviously, Toy Story 2 as well, Incredibles, Shrek, even stuff like Kung Fu Panda. Like, there's great 3D animated movies. It's just never quite going to be my favorite. That's not to say that I don't really like. I will always say that to me, the saddest scene in an animated movie, and maybe the scene in any movie that can maybe most guaranteed make me tear up, maybe in any movie. Yeah, maybe in any movie. There's just something so fucking sad about this particular scene. I've mentioned it before. Who wants to guess what it is? It's from a Pixar movie. Who wants to guess? Quickly guess. Like, again, this is personal. This is, while you guys are guessing, I'll just say this is personal preference. For me, even like the average animation of a Disney movie is much more evocative to me than like even some of the most beautiful Pixar animated movies. It's what I personally prefer when I'm looking at art, whatever you want to say, right? Up? Nope. Nope, it's not up. Nope, nope. I can maybe even pull it up on YouTube. I wonder if this stream will get demonetized. Uh, I'll just pull up the image. All right. Everyone's saying up. Maybe this is a surprise guess. Let's see. I'll give it 30 more seconds. See if somebody else can guess it. It's not up. It's not up. Cosmic Turtle says, Morj, what do you think about Spider-Verse style animation? Fucking amazing. Um, like that's phenomenal, fantastic. Um, yeah, I don't have like there's you can, like, how many adjectives, pull out a long ass list of adjectives that mean good shit, and that's basically what it is, right? Inside Out, low key, like, I, by the way, I can not love movies in general like not love a certain movie in general, but still really really feel a lot for given scenes or moments. Inside Out has actually one of my most, for like as much as I say like Pixar doesn't have my favorite movies compared to old school Disney. Like I think there's more scenes in like there's certain scenes in Pixar movies that really, because like Pixar can really do character stuff very very well. It's just usually maybe sometimes the stories or the animation style doesn't quite hit what Disney does for me. But the Bing Bong scene in Inside Out made me cry, and I actually like will randomly think about it once every like X number of months or something. Like randomly, I'll just like think about like I don't know. It's just something that comes up in my head. Maybe there'll be something that triggers it. But the Bing Bong scene is really sad. But Inside Out was not the thing that I was thinking of. It's not Inside Out. I'm surprised no one can think of it. No, it's not from fucking Cars. Cars is ass. It's not from fucking Cars. I've never seen Cars 3 though. I don't know. I've never seen Coco. I haven't seen any of the newest shit. Okay, if nobody can guess it, nobody can get it. Appman 2 says Pixar is very good with emotions. Yeah, Pixar is really, really great with emotions. Frozen is not a Pixar scene or Pixar movie. Frozen was alright. It was solid. Oh, you're memeing about Cars? Alright. Cars is also not ass. Maybe I overreacted. Nobody's guessed. Okay. Nobody's guessed it yet. There's only so many Pixar movies. It's a Pixar movie. It's a Pixar movie, alright? It's a Pixar movie. Did we just drop it? Jose Lari's brought up Fox and the Hound. Fox and the Hound is the saddest fucking kids animated movie. At least Disney or Pixar animated movie that fucking exists. Because the ending is not like a like the story is literally just like, yeah, we can't be friends at the end of the day. Like this is just the way life is. It's just like it's so harsh and real. Like the way the Fox and the Hound story plays out, and just how deep it ends up cutting both of the characters, and just the fact that they don't ultimately, there's no happy ending to it. It's just a sad, slow reality and kind of like a final goodbye. Like Fox and the Hound is too sad. Fox and the Hound is too sad. All right, I'm just gonna give it to you guys. It is from Toy Story 2. It's from Toy Story 2. It's this scene. It's this scene. I'm not gonna play it because I'll probably get in trouble. But it's does anyone remember this scene? Please tell me somebody remembers this scene. The scene is really sad to me. It's a song, it's a musical number, I guess, but it's a sad musical number. It is basically, because for me, I think that the entirety of Toy Story is like the entirety of the messaging and idea of Toy Story, ideas of Toy Story, and just the simple idea of growing up, all of it. Let me compose myself. I think all of it is encapsulated in just this song. I think you don't need the Toy Story trilogy, or I guess they got 4 of them now. I think you don't need the entire thing. I think you just need this. I think you literally just need this music video, and you've got it. You've got the entire franchise, like everything that it's about. It's right here. This is so sad. This is the saddest flashback for me. I mean, obviously there's One Piece flashbacks and stuff like that, but like, if you need to make me cry in the span of, I guess, 3 minutes, you would just sit me down and play, like, you would sit me down and play this in front of me. Because this is, to me, this is everything. Like, this is just the whole concept of childhood to growing out of it, right? Childhood to becoming a teenager and adolescent, right? Like, this is the moment, like, this just covers it, what you lose. I don't know. There's something so fucking sad about this. I think this is just the entirety of the franchise. You actually don't need the rest of the movie. You don't need Toy Story 1 or Toy Story 3. You basically just need this, and it sums up basically the entire idea that Toy Story is trying to cover. So this is basically probably my most emotionally moving scene from any animated movie. So I'm not like anti-Pixar biased or anything like that. It's just that at the end of the day, for a movie as a whole, like an entire story basically, I still lean towards, and like the type of animation, etc. I still lean towards Disney animated features like Lion King, like Batman, or not Batman, Bambi. For some reason, I was like Batman. Lion King, like Bambi first for me personally. Anyway, I am choking up. It is a very emotional scene for me. Like this is it's a lot. Um, Bambi mid? No, Bambi holds up really well. Bambi holds up really well. You know what the okay? Was it quails? Oh, pheasants. I feel like people don't understand. Bambi is if you go back and watch Bambi right now, you would be shocked what the type of things that they would show to kids and how visceral it is, like the tone, etc. Like Bambi is an amazing movie because it really doesn't feel like it's a movie that there's parts of it that are the most cutesy kitty type stuff that are like you it's like the it's like BBS, I don't know, like you're watching like Sesame Street type, like it's the most cutesy kitty type stuff, like the opening little song and stuff. And then the places that it goes with the entire scene of Bambi's mother, etc. It's directed in a manner that you're never going to see in a kids animated movie again. Never. You're not going to see that in Pixar. You're not going to see that in Disney ever. It is so suspenseful, so tense, so quiet, so real, so terrifying. There's nothing like it. All right? And then from there you get to silly scenes like Bambi growing up and like him and his friends getting crushes on girls and stuff like that. And then you get to a new scene, which is the hunters, like man coming to the forest. There's no scene I've seen in any Disney animated movie or Pixar animated movie that's like this one. People might not remember this scene, but this scene is fucking wild. I don't think it hits as hard out of context, but if you go back and watch like the ending section of Bambi once man comes to the forest, this scene is fucking insane because it's basically it's these pheasants, right? They're hiding in the brush, in the bushes, etc. And you never see man. You just hear, like, and they're talking to each other. And there's this sense of just like sheer, vivid, visceral fear in their voices. They're talking to each other. They're frantic. They're so scared. They're trying to stay quiet. This is literally, like, I'm not joking. If you watch this scene, I don't think it's going to hit as hard out of context, but it's practically like you could take these are, imagine they're not birds. This is basically like how people would talk to each other in like a fucking active shooter situation where it's just like, I can hear him. I can't take it any longer. And then finally she like bolts for it and she gets shot and dies. Like you're not going to see drama like this in kids movies today because they've basically realized that this is fucking too traumatic to show kids and stuff like that. This little scene is basically, it blows pretty much anything you're going to see in like a kids movie today out of the water. It is insane what they did here. If you I'd recommend going to watch all of Bambi again because you really need the full flow of it to kind of get why this scene is so scary, but it's a lot. Chillax Rita says terror is the word you're looking for. Yeah, I mean, it's just characters that are basically, it genuinely feels like you just took a scene from an actual movie where, like an actual adult movie where you just have people trapped in a shooter situation and they're just frozen, like struck dead with terror, and all three characters are reacting in different ways. One starting to freak out, slowly getting like a panic attack. That's basically what you're watching. This character having a panic, like this pheasant bird having a panic attack, like slowly spiral, like she's breaking down mentally, while the others are desperately telling her like, no, keep quiet, you have to keep quiet, like this, you cannot run from here, whatever. And then finally she just snaps and breaks and she makes a run for it, and then she gets shot down. And they never show man in this movie, they just show the effects, which is a lot more powerful because man becomes this terrifying, just inobscure, like this terrifying, formless fear that takes over the forest, something that can't be fought or opposed, just this entity that is shapeless, um, you know, oppressive. There's just no face to the fear. It's just fear itself, basically. I think Bambi does so many things so well. Yeah, this is Bambi. And Bambi's just old as fuck. It's from the 1940s. It's nearly 100 years. It's 80 years old at this point. So it's not going to, some parts of it will feel dated. But the ideas of the movie itself, and I think the important scenes are, like, hold up phenomenally well. And they are things that you wouldn't see today. Chilaxarita says, ironically, a force of nature. Yeah, that's true. That's a great point. Tutorial Boss says, I'm sold on watching Bambi first on my movie spree. So this is one thing that I kind of realized at some point, and, everyone can do things different ways. But high school and especially college, I really started binging older movies, and then recently, last couple of years before I got into movie Morj, I was binging lots of foreign films as well. And one thing that I kind of realized is that anytime you're binging a lot of movies, like to try and pick up on old classics or cult classics or acclaimed movies or artistically renowned movies, etc., and you're just trying to go through a certain catalog, in my opinion, it's generally best to go from the earliest period in time to forward. Simply because you're able to appreciate a lot of the changes as they come, but two, it can feel kind of like if you get used to a more modern pacing of a certain art form or movies, film, whatever. If you get used to that, then certain things will just feel more dated, and you won't be able to enjoy them when you go back to something from 60 years ago as opposed to like 15 years ago. But you don't really feel that when you're just starting from way back then and then moving through it all, because just you're able to get in the zone of being of watching older things and accepting that certain things are from a different period of time just easier. I feel like it's kind of like if you were to play Ocarina of Time versus Tears of the Kingdom or something like that. You should play Ocarina first, and you're able to kind of just enjoy it and not really think about the things that it doesn't have. And then if you play, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom now, you're able to still appreciate what Ocarina had and see the things that then were innovated on, basically, but then at the same time be able to parse a little bit better what are the unique things that Ocarina had that even the new stuff doesn't have. I think that applies to movies especially, just because there's just small things, like certain ways things are filmed, or certain ways dialogue is done, certain ways people act, Like if you're watching movies from an older period where everybody acts in a much more stiff, theatrical manner, it's much easier if you're watching a bunch of movies like that, so it doesn't feel as jarring and you're able to just mentally go with it, versus like coming from a bunch of modern movies and then jumping back, in my opinion. I just always recommend go by timeline. And again, then you're able to appreciate more when certain jumps in progress or innovation happen, because you're able to see it. It's like, holy shit, like this movie is only 5 years later than this other movie, but it's putting together so many things. I think that's one thing that I think a lot of people, like Citizen Kane is generally considered, historically has been considered the greatest film of all time. And the reason for that is basically you kind of get it if you go back and watch movies from before Citizen Kane, and then you catch up to Citizen Kane, and then you see movies after it, because it just stands out so remarkably well for having put together a bunch of shit all at once that it's basically like light years ahead of the things that were coming before it. But by today's standards, some parts still hold up really, really well, and some parts are still unique. Like, I talk about this on the Movie Morj channel. I've got a video on Citizen Kane. I think it's the first video on the channel, and I think it's a really, really insightful one in my humble opinion, but I think that that's one that helps break down why people hold it in such a high light. But I still think that you wouldn't get as much out of it if you're just going with the modern movie mindset and then going back to check it out. You realize so much more when you go watch the earlier stuff and then catch up to it, and then it's kind of like a eureka moment, like, holy shit, this guy was on another level. Anyway, we're going to call the stream in a couple seconds. Let me just catch up to these supers real quick. Daniel Allen, thanks for the 5. Have you read the original Dune series by Frank Herbert? If not, have you seen the movie? Thoughts? I've read one Dune book, the first Dune book. Dune in for me. So the movie I've seen, I watched the first one with my family, but we're watching it like in the basement on like on the projector and everything like that, but not how do I say this? Like we weren't all on the same page because my sister had seen it already, and me, my mom, and my dad hadn't, and we're watching it kind of late. So we didn't finish the movie. We watched most of it and then we didn't finish it. But I thought the movie was fantastically directed, and I thought it got the feel of a book like Dune fairly well. Now, as for my thoughts on Dune the book, and the reason I didn't go on to read other books is because I thought it was a really really gripping read, but I felt like at the end of the day, the way the conflict was resolved, the entire scope of the conflict, everything ended up, it felt as though it was opening up something really really big and large scale, grand earlier on in the story, and that kept me really hooked, and the world building, etc. But then it felt like everything resolved and came together in with a little too like kind of quickly, like for everything that it was setting up and the ideas that were coming together, the resolution of it all felt very simple, a little bit rushed almost. Like it's a story that encapsulates the whole universe, but it almost all takes place. It ultimately all takes place on one tiny little planet. The entire, I don't want to spoil things basically, but it felt like something that was getting really big, like really large, that ended up feeling really really small. Maybe that's just because I'm used to more modern day stuff, I suppose. But the last third, I suppose, of the book, or the last half of the book, um, I guess what the current movie is going to cover, the second Dune Part 2 is going to cover, I was not impressed with that, basically, personally. So it left me a little bit underwhelmed. I guess underwhelmed would be the feeling, because I was really, really into it and really, really taken in by and immersed in it for a long portion of the read. I just was a little bit underwhelmed by the ending, basically, and that's kind of how I remember it. Jose Alats22, thanks for the 5. Apologies if you mentioned it already, but thoughts on the two Spider-Verse movies. So, you guys are going to crucify me. I've only seen the first Spider-Verse movie, all right? The second one I really, really wanted to see. For whatever reason, things kept getting in the way, and I was just like, okay, not this time, not this weekend or whatever, basically. I ended up not seeing it, and I only want to watch it in theaters, so I'm going to wait till the next Spider-Verse movie comes into theaters, and most likely they're going to be playing Across the Spider-Verse again. Or what is it? What's the second one called? I mixed them up. Across the Spider-Verse is the second one, right? Most likely they're going to be playing Across the Spider-Verse again, so I'll be able to catch it in theaters then. And maybe I'll get to watch back-to-back, like Across the Spider-Verse and then whatever, Beyond the Spider-Verse, right? So I've not seen the second one. I believe that it's phenomenal, etc. I just didn't get a chance to see it, whatever, in theaters. And I don't want to watch it on a small screen, so I'm just going to wait till it's back in theaters. Unless it's in theaters somewhere. Is it in theaters somewhere? Nah, I don't think it's in theaters anywhere that I can see. Well, maybe I can find something. I don't know. So I haven't seen it, but I believe that it's really good. Jose Larios brought up Anastasia. It is an underrated animated movie. It's pretty epic for what it is. The soundtrack for that movie is phenomenal. Like, a crazy good soundtrack for a movie that went really under the radar. Probably because it's not actually a Disney movie. But anyway, I really like the first Spider-Verse movie. Yeah, I like the Spider-Verse movie a lot, mainly for the production and the animation, etc., and the style. I thought the story was solid, all right, but I wouldn't have thought anything of it if it wasn't created in that style. It's on Netflix. Yeah, but I can't watch it on the big screen. I'd rather watch it on the big screen. Anyway. All right, guys. Yeah, I think that's it for today. I don't think I'm missing anybody, but yeah. Make sure to get your if you want to at least check out the styles that are available. If you like the style of this, definitely just click the link above. Just check out the Morj store, and yeah, get yourself one. You can get a t-shirt, you can get a sweatshirt, whatever you like. Get family members one, get friends. If you got One Piece fan friends, they will enjoy it. So yeah, I really, really like I didn't want to put out something that I wouldn't wear myself. I like this a lot just because I prefer things that are not overtly anime, not overtly weeb. To me, this is just something that's like, this is the style that I like. Like, it's black, little bit of color basically in there, and anybody who understands One Piece can recognize what it is. That's what I like. If you guys want it, check it out. If you want to get it for One Piece fan that you know, friend, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever, check it out. Link in the top of the stream. Visvim Frog, Morj LeBron has 21 at the half. I can go watch that now, I suppose. I do have to catch up on NBA a little bit. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. And